Good morning, beautiful humans. Welcome. Thanks for being with me here today for Sonic Sunday number 18. And I had made a request on several social media channels for topics for this particular Sonic Sunday. And I made a list. I wrote them all down, actually. I went through all the different places and I wrote them all down, and I was looking at them and I was trying to figure out how we could boil it down. How can we boil it down to one word that really encompasses and in a way solves everything, right? So I'm always looking for the simplest, easiest way to do anything, to look at anything. And especially ways that are useful for us, that we can actually put to work right away. And I see you dropping in from where you are hanging out this morning. So continue to do that. First time here, welcome. So for those of you who've never been here before, this is like my church. And an opportunity to chat, gather community, and do some healing, because Lord knows we all need that. So I'll chat for a bit, and then we'll get into tuning. But I want your help today. So if you didn't catch the memo, it's not just going to be me tuning. We're all going to tune together because it feels like that's what we need. So if you have tuning forks, if you have singing bowls, if you have any kind of instrument, or if you don't have any of that, you have your voice, please grab them and get them handy, because I'm going to enroll you in the process as well. Many hands make light work, and there's some heavy lifting to do. I don't want to do it all by myself. So I'm going to have y'all join in when we get to that part. But I'm sure you're dying to know, like, what's on my list and what I boiled it down to. So one of the comments that I saw, it probably was posted more than once, was about praying for peace. And when I was reflecting on that, like the whole idea of praying for peace, I made a Facebook post about it. It kind of ruffled some feathers, but that praying for peace felt to me really like inadequate. It felt flaccid, for a better word, in response to the incredible division and chaos and entropy and destruction that is going on in the world, that has been going on, but is really appears to be being amplified, right? Divide and conquer in full swing. And if there's so much entropy and so much downward force, just like praying for peace just doesn't feel like it cuts the mustard, right? If you want to neutralize a wave, you don't just put in neutral energy. You have to counteract it with the equal and opposite waveform, equal and opposite, right? So what is the opposite waveform of entropy, of things being destroyed and falling apart and divided, right? Well, it's syntropy. It's the creative force. It's the uprising. It's that which brings things together. Division, right? We need wholeness. We need like dynamic wholeness. We need, like, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it needs to be met with something more like rising up. And I don't mean rising up in a resistance kind of way. I actually forgot the important note that I wanted to bring. But because I wrote it down so you could see it, but I'll say it in a minute. So whether it's in our own body, right? Whether we're divided in our own body, and most of us are, right? Most of us are split into part that attacks and a part that defends, or a part that criticizes or judges or punishes, and then the part that's the victim of that, right? We got the victim and the perpetrator, we've got the judge and the judge. We've got a whole lot of self-loathing about what it means to be human. So much of what is going on out there is also going on in here, right? And we can't fix what's going on out there. Genocide all over the world, destruction, greed, madness, really, right? And you can look at what's going on out there and you can get all upset, but all it does is make you more incoherent, right? So the word that I picked that we want to focus on is really coherence. Coherence. And what is coherence? So some of you might have seen me. I did, Christine Schaffner had a coherence summit going on this week. So this theme is up. But coherence is everything hanging together, everything being in order, everything, all the parts relating to all the other parts dynamically, being regulated, being in order, right? Being whole. In order to be coherent, there has to be a sense of wholeness. And in a coherent system, syntropy and creativity and compassion and playfulness, like all these things arise, like all these things that we want. Pretty much everybody I've ever worked on who had an autoimmune disorder, this idea that the body was attacking itself, that's going on in their mind, right? So humanity has this sort of big autoimmune disorder where we're attacking ourselves. We're all part of the human family. I heard a joke recently that I really like. Somebody was saying that he went and got a DNA test and he got the results back, and it turned out that he was related to everyone. Right? We are. We're all family, and the dysfunction that happens within ourselves and within our own families, family of origin, with our partners, with our colleagues, right? It's all just evidence of this division, this entropy, this chaos, disorder. So we don't want to pray for peace, but we're actually going to tune and sound with coherent instruments for coherence. And I'll just go through some of the things that people wanted, and I just want you to see how coherence could really solve all of these things, right? Insomnia. Well, there's some part of you that's incoherent, that's off rhythm, that's not in sync with the rest of the body. There's some incoherent rhythm there that's keeping you up at night. Embracing our strength. Well, a coherent system is naturally strong. It's stable. A coherent, grateful heart. Well, yeah, that's coherent, right? The melody of life. The melody of life is absolutely coherent. You know, the cosmos, the dance of the stars, the heavenly bodies, the nature. There's an incredible coherence in creation, nature. It all hangs together. Reducing inflammation. Well, what is inflammation? You know, it's out of balance. It's incoherent. Something's tense here and jammed up and not flowing. It's gone into an incoherent state. Unity, one love. Well, that's extremely coherent, right? Speaking truth without making anyone wrong. Oh, that's definitely an interesting one, right? That's what I call successful diplomacy. And the idea that I talk about in Tuning the Human Biofield, where truth has 144 sides. So, you know, I might be looking at it from one angle and seeing one facet, and you might be looking at it from another angle and seeing another facet. But we might be seeing different things, but that doesn't make me right and you wrong, right? So this ability to realize that we can only perceive facets and slivers of things, and that our side is important, and it's important that I understand your side. And I go over the other side of the table and I look at it the way you're looking at it, and I go, oh yeah, it's that too, right? And that's coherence. Focusing on our own needs without feeling selfish, guilty, or anxious. Well, selfish, guilty, and anxious, right? Those are all incoherent vibrational states, often coming from this very large incoherent thought that we have all been viciously programmed with, that we are not good enough. Right? We're not good enough. I'm teaching a Shift Network course called Receive the Gifts of the Ancestors. And on last Tuesday, we did a tuning on receiving these gifts, coming to us as seeds to plant in our psyche, as simple gifts, you know, and there's maybe a dozen of them. And each one, I held up the 144 fork and we listened to what was in the way And over and over and over again, it was fear and fear, anxiety, and this feeling that we're not good enough. And then this causes us to contract and shake and become incoherent. Uh, Finally, when we got to the last one, I heard that stupid, fearful, I'm not good enough. I just threw the fork away. I was like, I can't listen to this anymore. Like, this story is so played. It's so played, right? And it's really important to understand that you've been programmed with this. So if you feel that way, it's not really you. It's just this overlay, this stamp of incoherence that's been embedded in your electrical system. And you think it's you, but it's not, because what you are is fundamentally harmonious, fundamentally coherent. These are our factory settings, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else. Letting go of the past. Well, what is the opposite of letting go and being in the present moment, sort of holding on? And there's an aspect of you that's stuck in the past, that hasn't forgiven yourself or forgiven others. So then you're kind of operating in different timelines. You've got some of you in the present, some of you in the past, probably worrying about the future, right? When you're spread out over time instead of showing up right here, that makes you incoherent as well. Let's see what else. Reduce geopolitical judgments. A lot of that is programming. That isn't coherent. Inner peace, self-love. I mean, those are coherent states. This is a good one. Coming out of a trauma response and the apathy and hopelessness that can create, to be authentically of service. Yeah. Right? I mean, how many of you are not being authentically of service, even to yourself or to your own home or to your loved ones, because part of you is just frozen in some kind of trauma response? And when we're frozen, then we can't be of service. We can't allow God, if you will, to work through us, to bring us to where people might be praying for help, because we're too frozen, right? Too frozen. And that one's really getting me, because I think that's a pretty big theme. Like, I think so many of us would be so much more than we are. We would be expanded into our potential if we weren't frozen in some kind of trauma response. And, this has been going on for generations. I haven't ever been in a war situation, knock on wood, but my mom was. My mom lived in Belfast during World War II. She got bombed out of her house twice. There was a little egg hanging out in there in that trauma. So most of us are downstream of trauma of some kind or another that informs us. It's really kind of a mess. Like, humanity's a big freaking incoherent mess at the moment. And humanity is composed of each and every one of us and the little messes that we have inside ourselves. And, if we want to improve humanity, we've got to start where we have power. And unfortunately, the division out there will often capture our emotions and make us go into a fuss about politics or whatever we're seeing on the media. It emotionally jerks us around. And then we're not able to attend to what we do have power over, right? We give our emotional power away and we allow it to be manipulated by the media, and that is draining. And then at the end of the day, you never made your bed, you didn't deal with what you had to around taking care of you and what you have power over. Authenticity. That's a big one for me. Like, what does it mean to be authentic? And how, there's a freedom in authenticity. There's when we're bound from trauma, from fear that we're going to be cast out of the tribe, we're going to be unloved, right? We kind of twist ourselves into small, cautious, fearful versions of ourselves. And that restricts flow a lot, right? It definitely creates incoherence. Looking inward for peace rather than outwardly, right? You're never going to be peaceful if you're waiting for everything out there to line up. And that's where rolling with the waves of what is going on. This is resilience, adaptability, and really nourishing ourselves, nourishing our own coherence. Big one coming up short, not good enough, right? So that same thing. Okay, I like this one. Trusting the process and inner intuition to align with divine purpose now. Align with divine purpose now. Okay, so that brings us to this idea that some of you have heard me talk about, but I think this is a really important idea, and I want you to kind of consider it, okay? And that is the idea of what I call spontaneous coherent emergence. Spontaneous coherent emergence. And the metaphor that I use to explain what this is many of you are familiar with cymatics. And there's a classic physics experiment that you do with a flat black metal plate. It's called a Chladni plate. You put salt or sand on it, and you put a speaker underneath, and you put a frequency in. And any frequency that you put in will form a stable pattern. The sand and salt move around, it'll pop up with a pattern. When you change the frequency, okay, when you change the frequency, chaos will ensue. The pattern that was present will dissolve, and then everything will go into chaos. But then as the new frequency stabilizes, a new pattern of coherence will spontaneously emerge. It'll like whoop, and there it is, right? There it is. So it seems to me like we're going through a kind of node of chaos where the pattern that is in the process of breaking down, which is kind of freaking people out. Like, it's all going down, right? And then we become scared because we're living with uncertainty, okay? And living with uncertainty comfortably is a masterful thing that, I would suggest that you strive for. Can you be comfortable with uncertainty? Can you be comfortable with apparent chaos? Because what can happen is spontaneously this new order can arise. And so in order for us to be moved into this new pattern of coherence, we kind of have to let go of fear and anxiety and all of the things, all of the constrictions that are holding us back, and be willing to just enter into this divine flow now. Maybe it's also called surrender, which I think isn't really the best word, but it speaks to the idea of it. So everybody, let's just take a breath, because that was a lot of information to dump on you in a short amount of time. And I'm going to cue you in on my plan today. So I brought, Moses asking, spontaneous coherent emergence. You could also think of this as like this caterpillar, like cruising around, living this little caterpillar life, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, I need to wrap myself up and dissolve into goo. and then that goo is going to reform into a new pattern, and then I will spontaneously emerge from the cocoon and fly. Right? So that is an example of spontaneous coherent emergence. And it emerged from a puddle of goo, right? All of the same parts and pieces, but they just rearranged themselves to have a new and different experience of reality. Yeah, that's a good metaphor. That's the first time I've ever shared it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. So I brought my friend, Mr. Bones. He's looking a little awkward because attention is going to be on him. Mr. Bones is our surrogate for today, and he is going to represent the human family that we're all related to, the human family in its entirety. And we're going to send him some coherence. I'm going to send him some coherence. Now, I did this recently, this past summer, late summer, at an advanced module 1 class. Maybe some of you were there. And what we did was, at the beginning of each class, these 3-day in-person classes, wheeled Mr. Bones out into the center of the circle. And I was like, Mr. Bones is the surrogate for all of humanity. And I had everyone get their 144 hertz tuning forks, because everybody had one. And we all directed our tuning forks at Mr. Bones. and our intention, right? So sound is a carrier wave of intention. Our minds project intention. This is how we walk through the airport and we don't run into each other. Any busy, crowded place, the reason why we don't collide is because we're all projecting intention and everybody senses and feels that. So this ability to project intention is an absolute real thing. And when you add sound into it, it increases the amplitude of that intention. So we did this for 3 mornings. We did it for just a few minutes each morning. And it was kind of like, not much was really happening. But on day 3, towards the very end, all of a sudden, this very interesting thing happened. And that was that suddenly the energy that Mr. Bones was holding that was really kind of frozen and stuck, all of a sudden broke out into joy and dancing and celebration. And we all felt that, I mean, we're all just pointing forks to skeleton in the room. I know it's a little weird. But that we had this group experience that when enough coherence got beamed at Mr. Bones, he wanted to sing and dance. To me, is the ultimate spontaneous coherence when we're all singing and dancing together, right? The joyful of the joyful experience of being human, the very fundamental aspect of being human is joy, is celebration, is joyful expression. And boy, that's really not happening so much, right? I've had people tell me that they feel guilty for feeling good. Like, well, other people are suffering in the world, like, families and children and babies and, terrible, terrible things are happening. Well, terrible things have been happening, right? I mean, they have been happening and happening and happening. It's just that they're not all necessarily shoved down our throats, right? And honestly, we can't believe anything on the news. We just can't. So to have your life be determined and what you're allowing yourself to feel based on what the media is telling you, to abandon your own ability to be grateful, to be coherent, to be joyful because your needs are met in this moment. And to feel like somehow or other you're helping things by suffering, right? Another reason why I feel like prayer, like this whole idea of like, I'm going to pray for peace. Okay. Well, that's great and noble. If you sit down for 10 or 15 minutes and you direct loving thoughts towards other people or other places in the world. But the fact of the matter, guys, is, and this is really important, I really want you to get this. Every single breath you take, every single heartbeat that happens inside of you, every single thought or feeling that flows through your electrical system is imprinting itself on the collective morphic field, right? Every state of being in you, every moment is a prayer. There's this thing that I call the meditator's paradox, okay? And this is something that I've observed in people who are meditators, is that they might have a regular practice where they get down on the mat or they sit in their meditation cushion or they sit at their altar and they really dedicate that time towards being as coherent as they can. But then they get off the mat and they go in their life and they go into incoherence. And I feel this in their field, is there be an aspect of the field that's really spacious or quiet, but then snugged right up to it, there's chaos. Right? There's chaos. So they're they're fighting with their spouse, or they're fussing in traffic, or they're having an anxiety attack. Like all of these other things that you are feeling in any given moment are also imprinting itself into the collective. So if our signal is largely weak and incoherent, and we spend a small portion of each day trying to be coherent, how effective is that going to be? Right? So this idea that we're going to come somehow separate prayer, we're going to separate times of coherence from the rest of our life is not useful. It's just not. The trick is to bring this coherence into your breath, into your heart rate, into your responses throughout your whole day. And then you are a living, breathing, heart beating, walking prayer of putting coherent energy into the collective. Becoming all upset and then trying to pray for peace, what is that doing? Right? I mean, we really have to look at the reality and the nuts and bolts of the mess that's out there, the mess that's in here, how we might be contributing to that mess, even with our best intentions to not be. So, I'm not crazy about the word peace because I think it's kind of boring. You sit around being peace for a while, and then you kind of want to go out and make trouble. Right? It's like there's only so much peace you can take, I think, and then you got to have more going on. Right? That's why I prefer harmony, coherence. It's more dynamic. It's more, we can have a little interplay of dissonance, but then sort it out. Right? In reality, everything is always moving and flowing. So I think, intending to create coherence in ourselves is the most effective prayer that we can do, because then we just bring it everywhere we go all the time. Goals. All right. Yeah. Peace feels passive. It feels passive in a way that, hold on, I need a sip of coffee. In a way that it doesn't feel effectual in this moment of time. Right? If this is coming down, then we got to be going up. If this is coming down and we kind of hang out here, right? So as everything goes down, who are us who are coming up into this coherence, aligning with this movement that wants to arise in us, and really positioning ourselves so that we can ride that wave, and be part of spontaneous, coherent emergence. Good music creates tension, then resolves, right? It's not all peaceful. It can only take so much spa music. And then you're like, I need more dynamic interplay, right? It's nice sometimes, but not as a steady diet. I just don't think it's reasonable or interesting when it comes right down to it, or effective. Yeah. Good. How would we recognize harmony without dissonance? Don't grow up on Easy Street. No, I don't know anybody that has. And some of the most dynamic, interesting, useful, funny, creative people I know grew up in really difficult circumstances. So, there's something to be said for how difficult the creates strength and potentially order in us, right? It can also make you go splat. But but I like the phrase that pressure and difficulty either turns us into a diamond or it turns us into dust. And so we can take the opportunity of things being difficult to come from a centered, coherent, grounded place and get even stronger and even more brilliant. Right? And that means not being in victim consciousness. If you're feeling like a victim, then you're all scrunched over to the left, and then you're going to go down. If you're feeling angry about it, then that might take you down over there. And so just being really present in ourselves. Okay. All right, guys. So I am feeling like it's time for us to get out our instruments, and we're going to direct our intention at Mr. Bones. And Mr. Bones is going to he's going to be a surrogate for the human family. But I also want you to think about all these other things on my list. Like, what did you suggest, right? And how in whatever you're hoping for healing or resolution around, how would adding coherence to the equation make for a solution? So as we direct our instruments at Mr. Bones, remember that we are directing it at ourselves too. So this is whatever coherence you want to need in your own life, whatever you want for humanity, whatever you want in your family or your loved ones, that we're going to be directing at that. Now, I just saw something that went by that said, what about our feelings? What about the need to feel our feelings? If anybody follows me, you know that I'm all about feeling our feelings. Like, we can't get to forgiveness there's a phrase that I use called purple washing. Purple washing. Purple washing is kind of like greenwashing. It's putting a fake veneer of like everything's great when there's a really ugly truth behind it, right? So very often people will like go right to forgiveness without acknowledging, expressing, validating all the other emotions that they feel. And it's really important that we don't like pretend that we're fine. You ever heard that acronym for fine? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. And we don't want to pretend that we're fine because we're probably all of those things instead. And we really have to allow whatever noise and incoherence that we've been stuffing or trying not to feel or denying, like all of that has to be felt, has to be allowed, right? And then, only then, once we have really kind of gotten the surface noise, all these trapped sounds in us, sort of when those waves have released through us, you'll know after you have a really good cry, right, that there's this sort of spacious, peaceful feeling on the other side, that we go into actually more coherence sometimes after a really good release. So, a lot of times tunings bring up emotions. Just let them flow through. They're just waveforms rippling past. And, emotions really only become a problem when we stuff them, judge them, and then they come out in ugly ways. Right? They come out sideways because we were, and then it comes out like, blah. But if you're always managing the messages of that flow and allowing it in healthy, appropriate ways, which is possible, then it's a lot easier to be coherent as a baseline, right? Yeah. Okay. So I would like you to grab a fork and let's see if you have a 144. Let's start with that. I'll give you guys a moment. If you don't have a 144, you can use any instrument you like. And then get yourself positioned comfortably. Voice is beautiful. If you hadn't hit the like button yet, you could do that. All right. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you would. I do these erratically at the moment because I travel a lot and I'm often at engagements on the weekend. I could be gone next weekend. I'm going to be gone the weekend after that. But I will definitely on Sundays when I can continue to pop in, and so we can enjoy each other and group tuning. Okay, so take a moment, just close your eyes, and I just want you to settle in to your own body, your own space, wherever you are. And just take a moment to do a baseline assessment of how you feel in this moment. Just notice your breathing. Don't try to change anything. Just kind of check out how you feel. Maybe what's incoherent in you right now, or what's incoherent in your life, in your body. Just sort of take stock of that, right? And as we go to start tuning, yes, we're intending coherence, but you can add any flavor of coherence that you like, and you can change it as we go, whatever arises in you, right? I really want you to just be with whatever's going on and kind of flow to whatever wants to be flowed to. Okay, so let's just take 3 breaths or so. Oh, actually, you know what we're going to do? Hold on to your instruments, because I just remembered that I want you to be more coherent as we begin. Okay, so we've taken this assessment of ourselves, and now we're going to do an exercise that's 4 breaths and 4 lines. Okay, and this is the fastest exercise to coherence that I've ever experienced. And some of you have done this with me already. It is the Ho'oponopono prayer. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Except what we're going to do is we're going to add breath and body zones to this. Okay. So the first body zone is the pelvic floor. And what we do is we think, I'm sorry, as we breathe into the pelvic floor. So I'm thinking it, breathing into the pelvic floor, exhaling. All right, I'm sorry. The next one is please forgive me. And this is in the belly, and that's please forgive me. And we think it as we breathe in. And then exhale. I love you comes from the heart. Breath, I love you. And then thank you is in the head. Okay? Thank you. And when you say these 4 lines in these 4 zones with a breath in each one, it really opens your central channel. So it's a way for us to get the breath going, to get really centered, open the central channel, and really come to a coherent presence so that you are directing your energy from a more coherent state than you were in before we did this. Okay? So let's begin together. So the first zone again is the pelvic floor. And the statement here is, I'm sorry, but we think it on the inhale and then exhale. Okay. So here we go with the first one. I'm sorry. The next one is, please forgive me, into the belly. Really breathe it in. The next one is, I love you, in the heart. And then thank you, in the head. And just notice how those 4 breaths, those 4 zones, those 4 lines just settled you and opened you. Pretty cool. You can do that at any time. This is my go-to thing when I'm upset about something and I don't know what to do. I don't want to sit around thinking about it. That's not coherent. So I'll just do that prayer and it'll just settle, right? And I kind of feel how everybody sort of dropped in, settled. Okay, so keeping in mind Mr. Bones, that he's here, I'm not going to keep it directed on him because he does look so awkward. He's just feeling a little self-conscious. But you can imagine that he is there, and there's his little hand sticking out for receiving. And all right, grab a fork and imagine that you are directing it to Mr. Bones. And let's just listen, right? So the first sort of rule of sound healing is we listen first. We listen first. So you don't just go in with your magic wand and like and give. You allow the fork or whatever it is with your voice, if you just want to sound some tones, to just listen and sort of feel what comes up, and then we'll take it from there. All right, I've got the 144. Here we go. And notice if there's anywhere in your body that comes up, like getting tense. Is it your throat? Like I'm noticing my whole right forearm is achy and that my throat feels a little blocked. Let's just keep listening and notice what else arises. Thoughts, feelings. Feel free to drop it in the chat. Did discomfort suddenly come up somewhere? Where are you feeling that? So I'm seeing lower back, throat, right side of chest, shoulders feel heavy. Heart, deep emotional, gut tightness. These are all the places where we're not coherent in ourselves, where we have some kind of restriction, some kind of holding back, making ourselves small, carrying resentment, right? behind my eyes, lower belly, left foot, skin itches, heart is tight, left side of head, right? I'm like kind of feeling everybody's stuff at the moment. And so is Mr. Bones. He's like, well, we get to the coherence part, please. But in order to understand coherence, we have to understand the opposite. We have to resonate what is in the way of that, right? We can't just go poking coherence and tending it out in the world if it's coming from a place of restriction, tightness, judgment, stories, lack, blah, 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 right? Incoherence. And we've all got it because the world is incoherent. We've been spawned in this incoherent world. None of our parents showed us effective emotional management. Very few of us had coherent parents, right? Like, we're trying to do something new here. And we got to acknowledge the mess first before we can clean it up. Now, when energy starts moving, it makes me wiggle. And something I'm a little embarrassed about, but that's just what is going on. Because these are patterns of freeze, of restriction, of discomfort, and then we want to start those moving, right? We want to start getting flow in these areas. We want to allow the coherent song of the fork to start to open us up. So we're not gonna start sending until we feel like we've gotten into a pretty coherent place together first. I'm wiggling. I'm glad I'm not the only one that wiggles. I also like burp and make weird sounds. So if you're all doing it with me, I'm going to feel like that's so weird. But that is, the trauma release is really about shaking out old patterns. Got to shake them off in order to bring ourselves into this new order. And that's part of the chaos process. I've been in this pattern, and then we go through this little shakedown, and then the new pattern arises. Carrie was burping. Good. Thank you. I haven't done it yet, but probably will. Think about what a butterfly must go through, right? When it's like trying to get out of the chrysalis. A whole bunch of repatterning itself. Yawning. My cat started wiggling and chirping. Good. I love it. I love when pets jump in the process. Right. So as you start to recognize the tension, and maybe some of you start to wiggle or burp or yawn or shake it off, what is wanting to come up underneath that, right? What's trying to press its way up instead? Oh, Nadine, I'm not getting anything from this. Just hang tight. Just be curious. You're probably too busy in your mind. This is really about feeling. It's really about, can you shut off your thinking mind and just go into your somatic experience? Go into your somatic experience. Just be curious. Right, there is this mental energy of I need to know, I need to understand, how is this working? I don't understand. Even if you're watching the recording, your mental body is just going, right? How does this work? How does a recording work? Well, have you ever been moved by music? It's the same thing. I'm just playing one instrument. Spontaneous light is about to emerge. Very, very bright. Yeah. Yeah, that's what it is. It is light, right? And I'm really feeling this sort of Aquarian age, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, where all of a sudden the light is going to come on, guys, and we're going to be like, wow, we're all electric and we're all connected, and we are actually powerful together in this connectivity, right? And it's a spontaneous thing, like a light coming on or the sun suddenly coming up. Like, I feel this. I sense that this is coming. It's got to awaken and dawn in all of us, right? This sort of like, whoa, the light just came on. And it isn't dark matter and dark energy and black holes and entropy and, it's actually a light and connected and syntropic and coherent. This is what is really going on. Feels like a huge, heavy blob has gone from me. Yeah, let's get rid of those heavy blobs and let this light underneath start to emerge. Okay, I feel like we're almost getting there. Okay, yeah, so this is already now I feel the fork and I feel energy starting to go to Mr. Bones. So it feels like we kind of wiggled through what was in the way, and now I can feel I totally can feel it, right? So when you're ready, when it feels ready, when it spontaneously arises in you, I want you to see if the music of your instrument or your voice wants to start lovingly flowing to the human family in this coherent way, singing to humanity with your fork or your bowl or your voice in this loving, coherent way. Like, you're just beautiful. You are worthy, right? I don't like that saying, I am enough. I think I am plenty is way better and more true, right? Telling the human family, you're plenty, you're beautiful. Humans are so beautiful, you guys. We're so beautiful and amazing, and we've been imprinted with so much unfortunate self-loathing, which we then project onto others and hate and all of this stuff. But the essence, the heart of humanity is actually when it's not responding from a garbage in, garbage out kind of place. There's tremendous beauty here. All right, I'm going to change forks, and we're going to come in with the new 222, which is going to be available this coming Thursday for purchase. It's our new favorite fork. This is a fork of beingness. It's even just holding it is making me burp. So none of you have a 222 yet, but I'm looking forward to Sonic Sundays when we actually have 222s together. I think that will be super powerful. So please pick whatever fork you want, whatever instrument you want, and then let's come back into this. This is a sweet fork. It's like this sort of sweet, loving, almost grandmother energy. You're okay. I love you. And if you've got a fork going and you're feeling like more wants to come out, make some sound. It could just be vowel sounds, right? It can be on the sound of the in the sonic anatomy. The front of the heart is ya. You can add the tone ya, 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 like yes to life, yes to coherence, yes to loving the human family, right? And remember that we're directing this at Mr. Bones, but Mr. Bones is a surrogate for the whole human family, and he's also you and me, right? This is all of us together. And it's important that you have your receiving channels open, that we're capitalizing on 355 people in this moment and thousands more when it's all said and done, sending good juju your way, right? So we've got to not just be givers, but also be receivers of all of this dynamic intention that is moving at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to be quiet for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to keep sounding the 222. Let's have our own experience and then come back. Ha. Ha. Right? And if you need to get up and move around, because I'm almost feeling like people are like, I need to dance or move, right? If that is arising in you, then do it. Do it. All right? Okay, I'm just going to do a few more. Ah. All right, last one. And I'm hearing, no, don't stop yet. So, all right, I'll do a few more since I'm feeling this kind of like, I'm not done yet sort of feeling come through. So a couple more, get it while you can. Really let your body respond in whatever way it wants and needs to. Yeah, a whole bunch more light coming in all of a sudden. So you're right. I'll keep going. Feeling light above, I'm feeling light below. Sort of the tree of life of the human family and how we're all connected. Just this tree really lighting up every branch, every root. There we go. Okay, this is the last one. Big breath and up into the heart. Really big. And then maybe exhale down to the ground. 7 more minutes, lots of warmth now, seeing a symphony of voices singing. Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like I want to sing, right? There's like this sort of movement wanting to rise, like where the throat was stuck. Now there's more sound coming through. For those of you who don't want this to end, right? Because I'm not feeling like this is an end. I feel like we just sort of started something. I want you to keep this energy going, right? Do you feel how this is coherent, this is flowing, this wants to express, it wants to pour into the world with light and coherence and order and understanding and compassion and help, and right, all of these things want to move through you. And this is how we become the vehicles for this spontaneous coherent emergence, is by opening ourselves up, bringing ourselves to a state of coherence, inviting that prayer in the world, but not just on the mat, but like everywhere, in traffic, standing in line, whatever you're doing. Can you like surrender, bring yourself into this open, flowing, like love just wants to move through me kind of feeling? When you talked about dancing, I was thinking the same thing at that moment. My cat, dog, and toddler have all come in the room and given love since I started sending coherence. So that's the beautiful thing, right? As they send it out, it comes back. This is where we become the change we want to see in the world, that when we're coherent and we're loving, then the world is coherent and loving back to us. You're not in every situation, but the stronger you get, the more your own signal becomes clear and coherent and strong, the more that will be your experience. Right? People stand next to me and they're like, wow, Eileen, you're so coherent and grounded. And it makes them feel that way. And by fostering that wholeness and coherence and flow in myself, I am a walking tuning fork, and I am informing locally and non-locally the collective with my vibe, with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every movement. Right. And I know I'm an idealist, but that's what I feel like is the most effective way, is really building this in yourself. And tuning forks can really obviously help with that. Yeah. So if you haven't dropped a note yet about how you feel, right, just kind of checking in. It wasn't a very long exercise that we did, and it feels like it's still going on. And, how can you continue to bring this into your own body, into the world? The world needs more of this. That's exactly it, right? Do you see how coherent, if we boil everything down, right? And we focus on what is achievable within, that we bring that to the world, that we bring more coherence to any situation. Yeah. Keep wanting to sing the tone, then sing it. All right. Just sing it. Sing more. Put on music. Sing. Dance. Clean. Bring to order. Heal relationships. Is there somebody that you haven't been talking to? Is somebody that you have maybe need to apologize to, or to extend love to them, even if they haven't apologized? Like, what's something incoherent in your life, in yourself, in your relationship, in your home, that you can invite more coherence into? Right? Just this energy that we all just generated together is here. We just had 360 people loving you up with coherence. That's a lot. That's a lot of coherent input. Yeah. Love starting my day this way. I was singing Kirtan before this. Thank you so much. Singing is key. Open. Available for life, right? I'm available for life. I'm available for that spontaneous coherentness to emerge in me and through me. Yeah. Shoulders. I feel whole. Shoulders and heaviness is gone. I feel wonderful. So much more chill. Yeah. Yeah. Yay. All right, guys. Well, when I knew when I was going to log on this morning that we were going to like be happy to hang out all like for hours this morning. It kind of feels, I don't know, like it would be good and useful. And me, I can certainly go on and on for hours. But I'm going to wrap it at an hour here. Remember, you can always come back and participate in this again. It will live. It's here along with many of my other tunings. If you're excited about the 222 hertz fork, which, we definitely are, I created a free 15-minute tuning that you can find in the link below. And this Thursday, actually on 11/9, interesting palindrome to 9/11, the 222 will be released, so you can get one of your own. And I also created a 1-hour audio session with the 222 and the other forks that really creates this laser-like coherence in the signal. And I've been, even though I recorded a week ago, like really continually kind of brought back to focus and order and coherence by that particular tuning. I think it's called entropy and the creative force or something like that. So keep an eye out for that too. Some of you may find that helpful. I'm always I am always working to produce tools and recordings and classes that support your coherence so that we can all really bring this into the world. All right, everybody, have a blessed rest of your day. Continue to sing and move and sound coherence through you. And I love you all very much. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, everybody stay well.